Turns out that you should be paying people for their labor. This is We Have Concerns. Hi, Jeff Canada.
Hi, Anthony Carboni.
Hello, concerned citizens.
You know, Anthony, we talk a lot on this here podcast.
We don't stop talking.
We don't.
It's honestly ridiculous.
Yeah, it's frustrating. We should probably just put on an episode that's just quiet.
Yeah, could we just shut up for 5 minutes?
Be quiet. Put on the episode. You don't have to listen to us jabbering on. That'd be a relief.
You don't have the pressure of listening and I don't know.
But you still have the show on. That'd be nice.
That'd be nice.
Yeah. Anyway, we talk a lot about advances in technology. We talk a lot about visions of the future, breakthroughs, if you will.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's very often that we have something that on the face of it seems like it is going to really change the world. It is going to potentially be a paradigm shift in how we live on this planet.
Okay, but we did talk about turning dead spiders into robots. So
it's true. It's true.
It
does happen from time to time.
In 10 years, you're not gonna find a robot that isn't made of spiders.
Well, I agree. Certainly not in my house, you won't. But so it happens every now and again. And we saw a story that happened this week. A new paper was published. This comes from the University of Massachusetts Amherst. This is a paper led by a researcher by the name of Jun Yao, and his team published a study back in 2020.
That's going to get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, right. We were worried about COVID. We didn't know what to do.
Yeah, let me tell you something.
We were reading studies.
Anything that you were doing in 2020, it's just, you gotta let that one go. It's a good thing they published another paper, let people know that they're still out there.
Yeah, this is a follow-up. But in 2020, it was a pretty amazing idea. This is about generating electricity from literally thin air. A perfectly renewable, sustainable, constant source of electrical energy. And what they published back in 2020 was using a bacteria, a form of bacteria called Geobacter, to basically pull electricity from the moisture that is present in the air. And they showed it's possible anywhere on Earth, even dry, arid places like the Sahara Desert, even indoors. It doesn't matter. There's enough moisture present in the air at all times to generate electricity using a very, very thin, teeny tiny, a few microns in a width layer of this bacteria. Press it up against an electrode and you can pull enough energy, they were showing, to power like a wearable. You could actually power a wearable constantly with the amount of energy pulled from the electricity in the air with this bacteria.
Wow.
Very, very cool paper. This is 2020. The paper they just published, Anthony, they've realized that you don't need Geobacter. You don't need a bacteria at all. You can literally do it with anything.
Wait. So they're saying that anybody could pull electricity out of anything. There's electricity in anything, and we can pull it out of anything.
There's electricity in the air.
Okay.
And you can use literally any material as long as it has a very specific property. This is the property that Geobacter has naturally, but
is it willpower?
They've determined that they could just fabricate this property into any material and it will work. That property is itty bitty teeny tiny little holes. Little teeny tiny holes.
So, I'm sorry. So, teeny tiny holes. Now, are you talking about any substance that is porous, or are you talking about teeny tiny holes in terms of the space between like molecules and atoms and things like that?
Space between molecules. So if you can create a what they call the mean free path. This is the distance between molecules suspended, specifically water molecules suspended in the air. So basically this is 100 nanometers, which is the tiny, tiny fraction of the width of a human hair.
Mm-hmm.
If you can poke tiny 100 nanometer holes in any substance, you can basically harvest electricity from the air using that substance. So basically what they're explaining is it works like a cloud. We know that clouds create electricity. That's lightning, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the way they do it is all the little water molecules are bumping up next to each other in the air, creating static electricity. And the electricity sort of naturally gets formed into the positive charge and the negative charge, positive charge on top, negative charge on the bottom. And when that gets, when the negative charge gets to a certain point, it releases and lightning shoots out.
Right. So this is that, but on like a tinier scale.
Exactly.
Whoa.
The tiny is required to force the water molecules to form in that positive and negative charge. It's to force them to be charged positively on the top and negatively on the bottom. And the reason that it happens in tiny holes is because it's small enough that the individual molecules of the water bump up against the sides of the hole as they're moving through it. And that friction causes them to get bunched up and charge at the top and have the negative charge at the bottom. So you're basically creating this disparity that results in an electric discharge.
What does this do for my ability to use force lightning?
I think it really, really propels it forward.
This ups it, yeah?
Yeah, this is a huge breakthrough for you, personally, I would say.
Now, because this is, okay, let's back it up, because eventually I do want to be able to throw lightning from my hands. Now, we have, as you know, I have a list of things that I want out of science. The list is blue skin, wings, and the ability to throw electricity out of my hands. And we've
not necessarily in that order.
Not necessarily in that order. I'll take them in any order. I'm not picky.
Yeah.
I'm not picky. So
you want to be electric death from above.
That's all. At any time, at science's, leisure, I would like that to happen. And we've talked about things that will allow that to happen for me.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting closer and closer. So far, it seems like wings is furthest off.
Yeah, blue skin feels right around the corner.
Blue skin feels so close, dude. Blue skin feels so close. Like, I really feel like we could get there, But so for this, for hand lightning, which is also very important, I want to know, when we're talking about taking these, taking the space, these nanometers or whatever, whatever they're calling the air gen effect is what they're calling it, I guess.
I think one of the things we need to help these guys out with is branding.
Yeah, let's definitely put a pin in that, because
air gen, it's literally like generating.
It sounds like you're generating air. It sounds like you're making air.
It doesn't have any zazz.
Well, not only does it not have any zazz, but it sounds like you're making something that we desperately, desperately need right now. And you can't promise that. You can't promise that you're generating clean air for us. You simply cannot. Now,
but
hold on.
This will help in generating clean air.
Okay, we're putting a pin in all this, because what I want to know, is we've got, they're using something to kind of bounce these particles around, right? What are they using? How are they poking these particles, and how are they harvesting this electricity? Do we know?
Well, the original way they did it was that they had a tiny film.
Mm-hmm.
What is it called? I just said it. A geobacter, the bacteria.
And so they have this geobacter, and the geobacter has the spaces in it that kind of force the water in.
They created protein nanowires from the geobacters. They used this bacteria to create like a little pathway.
A little Plinko machine for water droplets.
Basically, on a certain level,
a little pachinko machine where a water droplet goes in, bounces around through these wires, and every time it bounces, it makes a little electricity, and the wires go, yummy, electricity.
Yeah, they bounce the little individual water molecules bounce around, and because they're not able to go through cleanly, because they're hitting and creating that friction, they're charging, right?
Yeah.
In the same way that it happens in a cloud,
right? And then so it takes that charge and puts it in your wearable, because it takes it from the film and kind of pushes it down towards, I don't know, a battery or something.
Well, it works like a battery. Basically, it doesn't need to be a battery, because it works like a battery. You know, batteries have a positive charge and a negative charge as well, right? And so it works in the same way, that discharge comes from the disparity in the individual charges.
So in their example of a wearable watch, you don't need a battery, because it's going to be bouncing around with enough humidity all day, where it's just going to be constantly creating the amount of electricity that it needs. I would imagine that on a larger scale, we could use that electricity stored in a battery. We could use it for larger things. But
the idea here is it would replace the need for a battery, because it never stops. There's no we're charging and now we're done charging. It literally is constantly creating energy. So it is constantly creating electricity. So there's no need for you to ever store it.
Well, but I would imagine that, I guess why I keep saying battery is you would need to, I guess this is my next question. How much electricity are they getting from this thing? Because the reason I keep bringing up battery is I'm imagining these tiny little nanowires, and I'm imagining tiny little particles, and they're all doing their best and they're collecting electricity, and that's enough for a watch. But if I wanted to do something, if I wanted to charge something bigger, like maybe my camera, and maybe my camera is coated in this stuff, and I put my camera down and it's sitting on the desk overnight and it's collecting humidity and charging a battery, because my camera takes more energy than a watch. I guess that's where I'm getting at. And so I guess the root question is, how much electricity are we getting from these tiny bubbles, baby?
Well, all they've been able to do now is generate a very small amount. But and that's the next question, is the scalability of this.
Well, maybe they should think of batteries. Maybe that's all I'm saying.
Well, the idea here is that the thing that's super cool about this is when you talk about any kind of renewable energy source we have now, solar and wind, there are times when the sun is not out and it is not windy.
Sure.
So you are having to
a lot of our government representatives will tell you that when voting against clean energy. They'll be like,
that's right. They'll point it out.
Sun goes down. What happens now?
You expect us to rely on darkness to get our energy? Yeah.
Sun goes down. Maybe we should tell them about batteries. While I'm telling everybody about batteries, I would imagine that the Amherst team probably does know about batteries, but I should probably remind the government about batteries first, and then UA Amherst. Okay.
Yeah. Well, the reason they're encouraged rescalability is because everything is so tiny.
Yeah.
And basically, so the thing that they did for the watch, I didn't think it was a watch, but it was like a wearable, a very simple device. They created this little protein nanowire bacteria layer, this film, and it was 10 microns thick.
Yeah.
So tiny. And that rested on an electrode, and it absorbed water from the air and then just kind of like seeped electricity into the electrode, right?
Right.
Constantly. It never stops. Darkness, nighttime, daytime, indoors, outdoors. It doesn't matter. There's always moisture in the air. It doesn't matter where you go. It doesn't matter what time of day. It doesn't matter. There's always moisture.
What about desert?
Yeah. Doesn't matter. Still, there's enough moisture in the air. And the cool thing they're saying about the fact that they're not relying on this one bacteria.
Can you imagine crawling through the desert? You're lost. You're hungry. You're baking in the sun. You're about to just fall to dehydration, but your fucking Fitbit is still telling you that you haven't gone far enough.
Yeah.
The Fitbit is just drinking all the water out of the air, and it's telling you to take 4,000 more steps, and you're like, I literally can't. I'm a skeleton. There are cartoon vultures following me, and your Fitbit's like, you looking to close your bands today or what? But I don't know. Seems like you've slowed down. Seems like you've slowed down quite a bit.
Basically to a crawl.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
You're not going to bring your heart up that way, says Fitbit.
Stay motivated, it says, blinking brightly, illuminated perfectly.
By the same token, I hope that the way they tested that this wearable was working is that it was just constantly emitting a beep. And so the way that they knew that it always had they were just like, how do we know? Well, we'll just come up with a signal. So you always know, no matter where you are, that the band is still working and turning this stuff into electricity.
It's been on for 14 days and hasn't stopped.
I know, it's amazing. We've made an amazing miracle.
Can we please just
no, we need to know this is perpetual. This could be the biggest discovery that we've ever had in the field of energy.
It really feels like keeping it on my wrist.
I can't hear you because your voice is similar to the frequency of the life-giving technology that we've created. So you need to shut up and listen to the beat.
2 weeks. Yeah. No, but so that's what's so exciting is they're talking about how, in the desert, maybe because this works with any material that we can poke these tiny holes into, maybe we will find that certain materials are better in certain climates and other materials are better in other climates. But the bottom line is it doesn't need this bacteria. It doesn't need anything special. All you have to do is fabricate those, and that's of course not easy.
No,
but
knowing that you don't have to
simple,
knowing that you don't have to grow these nanowires out of a specific thing, you can find something that is cheaper with a higher yield of usable wires.
Yes,
and then use that.
And the scalability is such that it's the holes are so small that you can just start stacking it and stacking it and stacking it. They're talking about literally putting this into the walls of your house, in the paint of your house, so that you're like generating electricity.
Yeah. Coating the outside of all of our buildings and structures. Just allowing us to just take in this moisture, which is constantly perpetuating and recreating itself until we fuck up the climate and we run out of water. What's going to run out first, do you think? What's going to happen first, do you think? Do you think that we'll put these in a large scale and have unlimited clean energy, or will we fuck ourselves out of water first before we can even do this?
Am I putting money on it?
Yeah.
Because there's a hopeful bet and then there's the money bet.
Yeah.
Yeah. My fear,
yes.
This is the thing that the place my mind immediately went, Anthony. And this shows you, how far I'm willing to go to get worried, is we found a way for there to literally be no off switch for energy generation.
Mm-hmm.
So we put these on the AI powered robots.
Yeah.
And there's no off switch anymore.
Look.
There's no off switch. They're going
to write screenplays all day, every day. They won't stop.
Right. They won't stop writing screenplays.
24 hours a day. AI is going to come up to you in your bed and be like, hey, wake up, man. Wake up. And you're going to be like, what? Yeah. What is it, AI? What is it? And you're like, and the AI's like, you ever wonder what the rest of the Mona Lisa looked like? Because I painted it.
Hey, wake up. Hey,
what is it?
Here's you as a space cowboy.
Whoa. Okay. Thanks, AI. Thanks for that.
Yeah. I also made you as a regular cowboy.
Whoa. Okay. Thanks, AI.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to bed though, because I don't have nano. Okay.
Here's you as a steampunk cowboy.
Whoa. That's cool. Might have trained you a little too hard on cowboys. Now that I look at the data set. Wake up. Hey. What's this? This is an Olive Garden commercial I wrote.
Here's you as a Dallas cowboy.
Okay. That's at least some lateral thinking. I enjoy that. Oh, no, wait, I'm just a cowboy in Dallas.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I was thinking about the AI stuff this week, and I don't want to go into too much of a digression here, but I was thinking about, the whole thing of like, is AI going to replace us? Is it going to write everything? Is it going to blah, blah, blah? And then I remembered that I never see ads for something online until after I've bought it. Still. They've been trying to, the entire internet runs off of eyeballs on things and clicks and
Yeah.
and like serving you ads, and they still can only serve me ads for something I just bought.
Can I tell you what I saw today?
I'm not worried about the AI. I'm like, if the AI was like, if I was literally not thinking about something that I needed, and then the AI showed me something and I was like, oh, I need that, and I bought it, then I'd be worried. But all the AI does is like, I go and I buy a mixer, an electric mixer for the kitchen.
Yeah.
And then after I buy it for the next 3 weeks, it's like, hey man, check out this electric mixer. And I'm like, I don't understand. Are you trying to rub this in? Is it a better deal? Why are you, I already bought an electric mixer, you asshole. It's like, hey man, I heard you were looking for electric mixers. Yeah, you heard that from me after I checked out. You heard it from the cart.
Let me tell you what I saw. Literally today on Instagram, I got served an ad for the perfect Mother's Day necklace.
Great. File that one away for 350 days. What the fuck?
When Mother's Day was? This would have been good information 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not as worried about the AI, so I'm not worried about that as much as you are, Jeff. What I'm worried about,
saying we won't be able to shut them off. They literally will just be lined with energy generate. There's no off switch. There's no night for their solar power to be shut down and have to recharge. There's no charging.
You know that the off switch can still be built in, right? Like we can still put an off switch on them. Like that's a different thing.
Yeah, but I feel like pulling the plug is much more powerful than just an off switch.
That's true.
Like we got to just shut down this whole grid, and then they can't do anything. There's no grid anymore. Everything's going to be self-powered.
Then they can't show me ads for things I bought 3 weeks ago.
Can't keep trying to write those screenplays.
Yeah, okay. I mean, there's definitely, I think there are way more pros than cons to this. If I had to think about it,
there are a lot of pros.
I am worried about what happens when we generate too much electricity and there's too much static electricity in the air and all of our buildings and all of our structures are coated with this stuff. And then we just get a city full of lightning bouncing around. I understand science? No.
It's just everybody touching everyone is like everyone just got off the slide at the park.
Oh,
you know, and
constantly balloons sticking to people. That's going to be a real problem in the future.
Everybody's hair just sticking up for no reason.
Oh, it's going to be a nightmare. It's going to be. Don't even put on a sweater once this happens. You're going to get it over your head. You're going to look like a kid in a 90s commercial for extreme juices.
The entire industry of home computer repair goes away because you can't repair your computer. You just keep blowing it out.
I keep putting on an anti-static band. Yeah, but the anti-static band is also collecting electricity. Well, that seems counterproductive. Is it? Look at how much clean energy we have. Is it?
This truly feels like a massive game changer for the world.
Oh,
because, we have all these, we were talking about, we have all these people arguing about solar and wind. And here's these guys that are like, hey, only upside, no downside, literally perfectly sustainable, absolutely clean, abundant. It's non-interruptible. Mm-hmm. It's just harvesting the innate properties of the thin air around us.
I love it. And
incredible. Now, we do need to circle back on the branding though, Anthony. We need to circle back on the branding.
I'm still worried about how much. I'm still worried about when we're going to get to the point where we're over generating to the point of lightning. It sounds like, and I'm not against this. And I'm not against this, Jeff. It sounds like it's not just gloves. It sounds like it's gloves connected to some sort of cool green glowing tube that then connects to like an energy tank on my back, which I'm also okay with, particularly if this happens before I get wings, because then my back is unobstructed.
Sure. Yeah.
So I'm collecting energy throughout the day. And then when I need to throw lightning, I can. It's not a constant lightning throw, but it sounds like we could eventually get there.
Yeah, the constant lightning throw would get problematic quick. You can't have a nice dinner by yourself. You're electrocuting everything.
No. I mean, it would be controllable. Once again, I don't think you understand the difference between an off switch and a battery. I don't think you understand what a switch does. But, and we will explain that later. But, no, I constant as in I'm never running out of lightning energy.
Right.
You know, I don't want to have to focus on this. You know, I want like a Palpatine level. I just kind of go, bah, you know, whenever I want to.
Oh, you're envisioning Palpatine, because I was going Electro the whole way, you know.
Electro's cool. Cool.
Lightning themed mask, although that seems, you know, difficult to get.
It's a little on the nose too, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But, you know, you
got to love his commitment to it.
Sure. I mean, look, I say it's a little on the nose, but at the same time, the Spidered Man is completely covered in webs. So I think I need to re-examine my implicit biases against Electro.
No. He doesn't get a pass. Spidered Man.
So, yeah, but I do want to talk about branding, because AirGen really does.
No, it's worse than that.
It sounds like shoes.
Yeah, well, it's worse than AirGen, because the first iteration with the bacteria was called AirGen. And now, because they've realized that you don't need anything specific, you just can do it with any material, they're literally calling it, Anthony, they're calling it generic AirGen.
So it's dollar store AirGen. We have AirGen at home.
I mean, guys, is there no one in the department who has any kind of brand strategy here? Any kind of...
That sounds like when I was a kid and I asked for like Nike Air. I wanted a pair of Nike Air, and my mom came home with like LA Gear or like British Knights or something like that with like a pocket, like generic AirGen. That sounds like the kids at lunch are going to fucking laugh at you, dude.
And it seems like anybody can do it. You guys have to corner the market. You've made the discovery. You can't just be like, oh, you know, it's everyday world changing tech. No, it's very specific world changing tech that only you can do.
Yeah, I feel like I would like to have the word infinite in it. I think is a good one.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Infinite electricity, some sort of like...
The word power needs to be in it, or electric needs to be in it.
How about Airfinity?
Airfinity. See, but when you put the air up front, it still sounds like a shoe to me. Nike's branding is second to none. It's really hard. You know? It's really hard to get past that. So Infinair?
Infinair is not bad.
But that also sounds like a Dyson thing. I think air is the problem, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And hey, why do we even need to be front and center about where the electricity is coming from? What if it's called Magic Tech? You know? But if it's just like, oh, you don't know.
Are we going to have a problem? Are the Final Fantasy lawyers going to come after us for that one?
Probably.
If we try to use Magitech?
Yeah, probably.
That's going to be an issue, I think. I mean, Lightning Fingies is really more like that's specifically marketing to me, but I do feel like.
How about Nano Electric?
Ooh, Nano Electric.
Yeah.
I like a portmanteau, you know? Nano Electric's good, but I love a little portmanteau. Nano Electric is cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nano Electric.
I think this team, Jun Yao and his team, I think they're going to be billionaires. And I think this is going to change the world.
So here's the thing. I hope they're not going to be billionaires. I hope that because they came up with this at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, I hope they are certainly well paid, and I hope that they are respected in their industry, and I hope that they are that they live in comfort. But I do want this patent to be less about generating money and more about generating that clean energy. You know what I'm talking about?
I hear you.
You know what I mean? I don't want this to be a penicillin situation, Jeff. I don't want this to wind up, you know, or not a penicillin situation, an insulin situation, you know?
Yeah.
Where it's like, oops, we have the special good insulin and it's different. And so now you have to pay a lot of money for it. No.
I feel that.
I want the clean air to be released to everyone.
I hope. I mean, this feels to me, as I said when I introed the story, this feels to me like one of those moments where we're hearing about the thing that is going to change the world.
Yeah.
And I mean, just on a pure, like, convenience level, can you imagine having a phone that you never plug in? You never plug it in.
Yes. But, absolutely.
That's amazing.
I imagine that every day. Even the little pad, even the little like wireless pad is not enough for my bad brain. My bad brain. My brain is good at a lot of things, Jeff, but it's bad at knowing where things are and putting them back in their place. It's medical. I have a diagnosis. I take medication for it. It doesn't get rid of it entirely, Jeff. I want to know that wherever I put my phone, or do you know what the big one is? My watch. Wherever I put my watch, because I came back from a trip and I forgot to plug in my watch. And I don't know. And eventually I went to hit the button to find my watch. Couldn't find it, Jeff. The battery was dead. I didn't have a watch for 2 months.
Not going to talk to you.
It was in my sock drawer. Why was it in my sock drawer, Jeff? I don't know. For the same reason that sometimes my remote control is in my freezer.
Right.
These things don't matter. It doesn't matter why, Jeff. It just matters, what do I do now? And the answer is nanoelectric. Infinite nanoelectric.
So I'm envisioning literally a time when you just don't plug anything in, because, there is a version of this where there's still power plants, and the power plants have all of these electricity collecting, nanofibers, and they just do it themselves. And then they disperse it to the households. But the vision of it that I think is the most exciting is every object that you need to have energy, the light bulb, the television, anything that needs electricity just pulls its own electricity from the air when it needs it.
Yeah.
Like that's what.
Yes.
And you just don't plug anything in anywhere. You could anything is just self-power. Everything is self-powered.
I remember asking when I was like in high school, I remember asking my science teacher, I was like, why do we have to plug shit in? Why can't we just get electricity from the air? Why can't we just beam electricity somewhere? And he's like, that's not how it works. I was like, yeah, I know that's not how it works. I'm asking you why. And unfortunately, I was part of the Florida public school system. So he didn't have a good explanation for me. But I thought you were going
to tell me that guy turned out to be June Yao of the Massachusetts Amherst Research. And that guy was the spark of the idea.
No, that guy was a soccer coach who had to teach a certain number of classes in order to remain on the payroll. But
gotcha.
So he was like, man, I don't know. He was like, you can't do that.
It is weird that the Florida public school system employs that many soccer coaches,
Dude, it's so many. I was shocked by the number of soccer coaches we had.
Soccer coaches, physics professor, soccer coaches, English teacher.
They were all, for some reason, they were like almost all in the sciences too, which is not where they should have been. And this is no disrespect to other curriculum teachers at the high school level, but like you can send a gym coach to do a certain level of English class because it's a reading list. There are key points you can go through. You know what I mean? It's a little more. Yeah. And listen, I love the language arts. I love English. It was my favorite. It was one of my favorite subjects. I'm not dissing English teachers. I'm just saying if you're going to send a coach who doesn't really want to be a teacher into a certain class, the answer honestly, the best answer is probably history.
The useless of the
I'm telling you, names and dates, and not just that, but the history curriculum, particularly in Florida and other states like Florida, is so restricted in what they can teach you. Send in the soccer coach, man. I understand is that making it worse? Listen, I'm working within the system I've been given here. You're not asking me to reform the educational system. What I'm saying is if we have to have so many coaches being teachers, where do we put them? The answer is not science. Because they need to answer questions that pop out of people's heads. You know what I mean?
You know what they say about soccer, though? Those who ignore soccer are doomed to repeat it.
It's true. Maybe that's why we had so many soccer coaches. I I've been waiting for wireless electricity. I think wireless electricity. I mean, when you think about it, you're talking about back in the days of Tesla, not the company, the man. You're talking about how do we get wireless electricity through the air? How do we make sure that no matter where people are or what their infrastructure is or what their needs are, we can beam them electricity. We can send them what they need to run modern conveniences and stay, and not just stay comfortable, but here in this current time, do it cleanly, do it in a way that's low cost.
Even better. This is even better than that, because there's the vision of the future that I see from this discovery is there's no collection agency.
Mm-hmm.
There's no organization. There's no power company. There's no group that collects all the power and distributes it.
Yeah.
There's just objects that power themselves by harvesting electricity from the air.
It'll be decentralized and completely open, like the internet.
And nothing has gone wrong with that.
Wait, whoops. It'll be decentralized and completely open like solar power? Wait, whoops. It'll be decentralized and completely open. Listen, you don't need me to get into, I do it every episode. You don't need me to get into the problem that capitalism is the enemy, but you're absolutely correct in that this becomes a material that you can purchase, or is everything is coded in. No matter what you purchase, it's coded in it.
Yeah.
If you're building a home, the home, everything you buy is coded in this stuff. How? Okay, but it does make me think of this. How durable is this coding, and how easy is it to reapply, or do we not know yet?
We don't. I mean, the scalability is really the big question. We don't know how much energy we can get, how easy it is to scale up. But they seem to be encouraged that they'll be able to do it. And then we don't know if it'll be like, oh, you'll have a bank of this kind of stuff in one part of your house, or if it really can be central to every surface. You can make.
I'm wondering if it's something that like you think about like nano, anything that's kind of like a small film or a coating like this, and you wonder if it's as simple as like building the house, and maybe the building materials themselves aren't pre-coded in this stuff. Maybe there are electrodes at certain places in your house, or electrodes within certain materials, and then like maybe once every 5-10 years, somebody comes out and sprays down your house with nanoparticles.
Yeah, maybe.
Like honestly, like not even goofing. Like somebody comes out and like sprays this layer of film on, or applies this layer of film, and it's just the efficiency of your house goes up again.
Dude, it boggles the mind to think that there might be a time when you could just have infinitely powered electrical objects that will work forever, because you never have to plug them in. There's no batteries will just become obsolete. You don't need to, I don't know. Again, I'm kind of running far down the road here. There's a lot to be determined still as to whether that's a possibility, but it certainly sparks my imagination to think if you're just generating electricity all the time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, without any, there's no downside.
Yeah.
There's no pollution. It's just literally, you have little clouds. They're little clouds. You're surrounded by clouds.
Oh,
this is a dream world, Anthony.
Maybe we should definitely put cloud into the brand.
Oh yeah, the nano cloud.
No, I don't like that. That sounds like I'm going to breathe it in and it's going to take over my mind. But like cloud is such a comfy, magical word.
Yes.
And I feel like if we can get cloud in there.
Cloudtricity?
Cloudtricity. Cloudergy.
Cloudergy.
This is all terrible. It's fine. It's bad. But here's the thing. I can say with absolute confidence, it's still better than AirGen.
Yeah. Generic AirGen.
Generic AirGen.
Come on, science.
Come on.
Let's do better.
Science. I know we've been saying it for over 700 episodes now. Your biggest problem is branding.
Yeah.
Science, if you could just figure out your branding. I mean, listen, and you've got to, science, because you've got teenagers, you've got children on the internet that understand how to create their own brand and build it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's why I'm very excited. We always say we're very excited for the next generation and what they're going to do. I'm excited for the next generation for scientists that understand branding and understand just a scientist who knows all the good memes and also that you can't say that something is called generic Airgen.
That's right. Get a teenager in there. They'll figure it out.
Get you a scientist that can do both is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
This is cool. I think this is one of my favorite things that we've talked about in a while, just because it does feel very positive and very attainable. And depending on, I would hate for them to come back in another 2 years and say like, look, this nano film costs 10 times more than a solar cell. You know what I mean? Because then they're out. They're immediately out. Right. But I would love for them to say like, hey, this is something that we can make out of readily available nanomaterials, whether it's some sort of like more stable and more plentiful bacteria, or whether it's some sort of carbon, whether it's some sort of like
they just poke holes in anything. As long as they can poke the teeny tiny holes, you can use anything.
That sounds spency.
That's the idea.
The poking sounds spency.
I don't think it's cheap poking.
Poking is more expensive, especially on that scale. Now that we have spider robots, that could be a different story. They can make smaller holes in things, but
they're tiny little fangs.
They're tiny little fangs and they're tiny little weird leggies. But the poking is manufacturing. If we can find a material that we can make that makes this naturally occurring. And I think that's why bacteria, they probably went with that first. But something like carbon nanotubes or something like that, something tiny where it's like, we can spray this on. We're applying something that's naturally that way. And that way we don't need to worry about microscopic, nanoscopic fucking manufacturing.
Well, if they can get the point where they can put the nano holes, the teeny pokies in anything, then you literally could just build the phone or the house or the car or the television out of whatever you're going to make and have the section of that has tiny little holes in it. And then use it's like you don't have to worry about sticking a material that you wouldn't already be using in it. You just have to figure out how to make the pokies.
If you licked it, would you get more power?
I think it would feel like, you ever licked an old rotary telephone? You ever done that?
Oh, like the handset of a phone with all the little holes?
Yeah. Ever done that?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, like what it feels like on your tongue. I bet that's what it feels like.
I bet it would feel more like licking sandpaper because the holes is so tiny.
I think, well, if you get a little electrical.
Are you telling me that you once licked a phone so deep that you got electrically charged from it? Are you telling me that you got an electric shock because you made out with a phone so hard once? Because this is a no shame zone. We know that. We don't yuck people's yum. If you did, I'm your friend and I want to hear about it.
That's what phone sex is, right? It's just in 1992.
Once again, I walked completely into it and it's my own fault and I'm sorry. Please send me money to stop him. All the money that we receive from the Patreon is spent towards Jeff's re-education. The removal of terrible puns from Jeff's brain.
Very expensive process.
It
involves tiny perforations.
It is the only way that we support this show and keep it going. So we really, really appreciate everybody who supports us on patreon.com/wehaveconcerns. But don't worry, we're not just asking you to give us money. We'll give you stuff too.
Yeah, we got cool stuff to give you, including bonus audio. You get access to the Discord at a very, very low cost, just $1 a month, which is, oh my gosh, it's basically free. And you can get hanging out with all the folks that give us the stories. You can read about all the other stories that we might not choose on the show and all sorts of other topics. It's a really cool group of folks that hang out in our Discord.
Absolutely.
Only $1 a month.
And as you go up, you get more for the more that you give. So you get bonus audio, you get extra episodes, you even get videos if you are so inclined. So check it out at patreon.com/wehaveconcerns.